Okay, I'm set at my end, it's all yours, sir.
Let's see here. I just want to test this thing first. Hopefully, I really hope it works.
Me too.
Help out tremendously.
Call you,
Okay, that's automatic. Forward one. Maybe.
I'm trying to touch the board,
Okay, yeah.
I don't think the stop screen is on.
Okay, yeah, that transition works. So double tap to the left should transition back.
I did, I did before.
Oh,
Before you.
I think it worked. Yeah.
Try it again. I don't know if it was you or me. That's you.
Okay, now you try the back. So that works, I guess, huh? So forward, back. These correct? Okay. Alright, okay. Let me get my timer set up to myself. Are you ready? Okay. Alright, good evening. Tonight my talk is going to be about robotic care and the ethical issues that go along with it. We're gonna start off here. Sorry for the slow transitions. I can't control PowerPoint that much. To start off with the introduction, I just want to bring up some questions maybe that we can think about as I go through the talk. With the introduction of robots and personal AI assistants to the elderly, are we dependent on these machines? Like, do we absolutely necessarily need them to survive as elderly people, or is it just something to help out with what we have currently? What sort of decisions are we going to allow these robots to make? Like, are they going to be able to just take a command at a whim and make their own personal decision artificially on what the outcome is? Can we control how this technology is going to expand? Or is it just, as we spoke about before, our manifest destiny? Is it something that's just going to happen regardless? Okay, so first I wanted to show you some of the robots that do exist currently, or our current designs. First here we have the nurse bot, and then we have kind of a butler robot, which is more or less just assisting in getting items and bringing them to the user. And then here we have one from Japan called My Spoon, which helps out with the elderly that have tremors, that really can't feed themselves without spilling everything everywhere. That's there. And then we have I'm sorry, I forget, it's not Nurse Bot, my Bot, I believe. I'm sorry, I forget the name of that one. But that one, it assists in reminding the elderlies of when their prescriptions are to be taken. And it also can come along and say, it's time for you to take your vitals. Please, put this on your finger, what have you. Next off, we have Raiken, which is another Japanese robot which assists in taking individuals out of the bed and putting them into a wheelchair, or just, physically helping them stand. And then, of course, we have exoskeletons, which are also being currently designed to help with assistant in walking, and there are also further full body ones which can help with arms as well. And then here we have the RP7, which is one more so made for the home. It has the two-way cameras and the two-way microphones, which allows a doctor on one end to assist the patient, or the family to check in on their relative. Now I'm gonna point out the 4 ethical issues that I wanted to talk about today. The first being the potential reduction in human contact that the elderly have. The second being the objectification and loss of actual control of their own lives and what they're allowed to do. Another one being the loss of privacy. Having a robot in your home 24/7 can intrude on being unclothed in your home or what have you. And then the loss of liberty, the loss of being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. First, we're going to talk about the human contact and depriving the elderly of that. Like when they're in homes, or even when they are in their own personal home, and they have assistance, human assistance, small tasks like cleaning, having that small interaction with a human is something that I feel shouldn't be deprived of any human. Having a robot come and assist you with cleaning or with the my spoon thing, that's just a small interaction that it can be very important to some elderly people. And it's also been proven too that this human contact can cause physical and psychological issues with the elderly, whether it be dementia or Alzheimer's as well. Another thing is it cruel for, let's say, the family to buy one of the RP7s and place it in the home to replace actually visiting their family member. Instead of visiting and just controlling the robot through the internet and saying hi to mom or hi to grandpa, and then actually replacing that with actually going there and saying hi to them. Next, we're going to look at the objectification of the elderly given these robots. First off, the definition of objectification is taking a human and making it feel more like an object than an actual being, and just treating it as that. And then who's in control of these robots? Are we going to allow the elderly to take care of these robots, or are we going to have the family or the doctors? And why are we introducing these robots? Is it to mainly cut costs, or is it to reduce the workloads of the busy staff that's currently there? But a pro of that could be too, I found a quote here from someone. The pro side of that is if the staff is rude. Robots currently aren't, they currently don't have emotions, as most of you may know. So this quote here from someone, they visited their husband, and she says here, quote, "I went to visit my husband on the first day, and he's a very private person. He doesn't like anything to embarrass him, and when I went in, he was almost in tears, which is not my husband. He said, 'Please, please, go get me a bottle. I'm nearly wetting myself.' I rushed out, I got a bottle, and I said to him, 'Well, why didn't you just ring the nurse?' He said, 'In my innocence, I have been for an hour and a half. I've been asking for a bottle.' Well, when I went out and told the nurse, she said, 'Oh, don't worry about it. We would have just changed the sheets.'" Now, that being said, would a robot do that? No, they currently aren't programmed to do anything like that. They will just do it regardless. The next ethical issue is the loss of privacy. As I was talking with the RP7, it's a great robot. I mean, the doctors have been able to assist patients from the U.S. in Argentina via the internet, controlling these robots. However, it's also a little bit of an infringement on our human rights too as well. Article 12, with another quote here, "No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his or her privacy, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Also as well, what the information rights of these elderly people may be infringed upon too, because the information that's being transferred from this robot either is stored internally in a hard drive or on a server somewhere. Now, is that going to be something that a hacker can get into and possibly leak out to the internet, I don't know, video feeds of this person's home, or maybe they can find the person's location and find out when they're not home, find a schedule, or maybe it's even more private information like a social security number or things like that. And let's see. Next here we're going to talk about the final one that I want to bring up here is the loss of liberty. Now the elderly safety is also a concern too with these robots, considering we're at such early stages with these robots. For example, like Riken, who's to say that the robot knows the difference between a bed, a wheelchair, or the floor, or even just a table? Is it gonna know not to drop them, like on accident, or is it going to run into walls, things of that sort? And also accountability. Who's going to be held responsible if something does happen like this? If an elderly person is dropped, or if, for example, these exoskeletons, I don't want to say like misbehave, but if they have an issue to where they injure the staff, who's held responsible for that? Is it going to be the manufacturer? Is it going to be their issue? Is it going to be the user? Or is it going to be the hospital itself providing the care? Also commands, we have to take that into consideration too with these robotic assistants. Are we going to restrict commands that they can give? If an elderly patient is for some reason all of a sudden depressed, and they tell Riken, toss me out the window, off the balcony, is that something that we can control? It's an ethical issue. Like, if someone wants to take their own life, they're gonna find a way to do it, regardless. Now, are we taking from that right by restricting the commands of these robots? The exosuits too, also with, as I spoke before, the accountability and issues that we have with those. Are they gonna, with their malfunctions? Okay, in conclusion, I just wanted to review the issues that we had at hand here. The potential reduction in the amount of human contact, the increased feeling of objectification and loss of control, the loss of privacy, and the loss of personal liberty. In my personal opinion, and taking a utilitarian standpoint on this, I feel that robots, even though they're in the early stages, I think we still need to do a little more research on these ethical points before we actually do fully submerge ourselves into these, because for right now, it is on the greater good of mankind to have these assistants, but to what extent? To what extent are we going to control these, like with the commands? And is a robot going to be able to tell when dementia or Alzheimer's is coming and happens? Like all of a sudden, if someone has Alzheimer's says, I feel like going for a walk today, is the robot going to know the difference between actual, like I just want to go for a stroll, or I want to go get lost because I have Alzheimer's? Hopefully this talk has brought forth some questions, and I'd like to take some time to answer those or discuss those with the class at this point.
So, you mentioned about the commands given,
That's correct.
internally to the robot, but, just off, cause I'm not really sure where you stood on it, are you saying we should have restrictive commands? And then how far, in your opinion?
Personally, I don't think there should be restrictions on these commands. Like I said before, if someone wants to take their own life, they should have that ability to do so, even through assistance of a robot. Now, I feel maybe other people may have a different standpoint on that, but like I said, if someone wants to do it, they're gonna find a way. So,
So the robots, we don't have a society create the robots due to protect mankind from himself. So you're saying they should have the right to assist him with suicide? That's what the guy, because he may or may not find, or she may not find another work they really want to do it. But wouldn't it be a responsibility of society to try to prevent that? Because it may be a one-time thing where that thought went down that road, not realizing how could have been there.
that's a good point too. I mean, maybe we haven't reached that point in technology for the robot to make that decision. Whether it's, if this is just a one-time thing, like, oh, maybe finances are really bad, I wanna take my life, or if it's been an ongoing thing, or maybe you're right, maybe they should just, if someone says, I wanna kill myself, maybe they should just alert the authorities or what have you, but I also feel that people have their own personal right to, if they want to, then they can have it assisted by an AI unit.
I don't have a question, but good article here, and brings me, I read in last class, I had computer, I read an article in the newspaper about, Japanese article,
Yeah.
in the newspaper, actual article.
Yeah. I like
That,
newspapers.
that, people that assist people that need help like that, the sick or disabled people like that, that is one of the jobs that AI would not be able to replace. Because
Yeah.
you need that interconnection, you need that person
That's
there
social.
to understand what's going on, and AI would not be able to do it. It was an article in the paper said that, listed some jobs, said this job here, assisted living,
Yeah.
would not be, and it's very popular here in Japan. The States is not as popular.
Maybe, but.
I mean, just individuals that go to your house to provide medication, to
Right.
cook, to clean, very
No, I'm
popular
saying,
here in
it's
Japan.
like, it's called hospice.
But there is a hospice,
Yeah,
that's
hospice.
an actual living facility where they go. But I'm talking
No,
about,
not that old yet.
yeah, I'm talking about individuals here in Japan. I know a lady that works, they actually go to a person's house to give them their medicine once or twice a day, to change their diapers, to feed them, to cook, to do those things. So that's one of the jobs that AI won't be able to do in the future. So if you're looking for something that you won't be replaced by a robot, learn how to
I think
do that.
at this time, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, right now, they're.
But, look at the generational change. What about our kids?
Yeah.
Who are more apt to interface with their iPhone than they are to look you in the eye at dinner time.
Right.
They might feel more comfortable in that sense,
Yeah.
receiving
Yeah, because
care
these
from
people
these
are-
type of, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but whose fault is that? It's the parent of the phone.
Is it a bad thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a change in culture is what it is, right?
Right.
It's a change in culture. I know, I feel like my privacy is being upheld more when I'm on the internet searching for something than when I'm at the store searching for something.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, they wanted me to fill out another form the other day and put my social security number on it. And I've already had my,
There are a lot of I feel, so if I go around.
But, sir, those were I feels as examples, not,
right,
you know,
yeah. And I
status
had
quo.
my identity stolen, so I told them I'm
Well,
not gonna
it
put
feels
myself.
bad, but how is it ethically bad? And can you handle principle, and can you extend it to the coverage of all society? We gotta get ourselves out of the picture, because you gotta put your judge hat on.
Right.
Is this good for the people, is this good, Mike was getting closer, is it good for society? I mean, once we get into personal experience, then we're just getting anecdotal, we're not doing analysis anymore. So, let's get back up there to objectivity. what's good for society as a whole, um, and, reasons for it, substantiated, and give an ethical perspective, behind it, especially an ethical principle if you can. Okay, so let's continue talking, but let's try to do it that way.
Okay.
Oh,
I-
before that,
go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, if the robot care is going to be like popular, and then what about like cost problem? Is that like, it's going to be, if it's become more popular, it's going to be maybe like a low cost to, have that robot at house, but it's affordable for the like normal, like ordinary elderly people, because right now it's still kind of like a trial, and then
Right.
there are not so many type of robot, but still I think it's kind of like expensive stuff to have that robot. So, and then also the robot care maybe take the position of that the how can I say, the human's job also. So like, since there are not like a less opportunity for human to gain that money, but still the elderly people can afford that robot, I think, or
Right, but it can also bring jobs too, because currently right now, do we have anybody maintaining
oh.
really these robots? I mean, if we have more, then we have people maintaining, some more software engineers, things like that too. And you do bring up a good point too, because like, you have to think about, is it like a negative or a positive, right, for these people to have these robots? Is it gonna, like, is it something that you expect? Or maybe you have to look at it from Rawls' point of view. Is it gonna make the less advantaged even more less advantaged? Or are we gonna eventually have two levels of people, like a cyborg and like a regular elderly person, you know? Are we gonna have that differentiation as well? So it's a lot to think about.
Another question you say it dehumanizes them because the relatives can just communicate to them through the robot.
That's correct.
But didn't this same question get arisen when we introduced telephones?
Actually, I think you missed that discussion that we had about this
Yeah.
generation and last generation with iPhones, and how's the next generation gonna feel about
How are they gonna accept it? It's just
interacting
Okay, then
with robots?
you already did.
manifest
That-
destiny.
people adjust, it becomes normal, just as phones
That's
do. Maybe elderly people feel that getting a phone call instead of a personal visit is being mistreated too, but they don't say much about it. It seems glad to get a phone call.
True, and it could be a pro point too. Some people may not be able to visit, or, I mean, phone calls okay, yeah, maybe a robot is better in some points as well, so.
Very well chosen topic. Very well chosen topic, restricted it to it, very well researched. Use of slides was excellent. And I know how recently ago he started putting this together, and I'm amazed
Thanks.
that he was able to put this together in this amount of time.
With work
And
as
still
well.
get his homework done, and still get his Volkswagen research done. But he did, and his speaking voice is very natural, slow paced, comfortable. He's not reading high speed from a text, and you don't want to read high speed from a text, because it's not going to be as effective as this laid back Oklahomian, Arkansasan type of approach. Very good communicator, pronounces the words well, people understand what he's saying, very good balance and emphasis on the talks. It was ethical from the word go. He was raising ethical considerations on every slide. He did get into the feel it game, I feel, which is what we want to avoid. You've got to give objective, ethical basis
Correct.
for your professional opinions at this point. So an excellent first talk, a great example, and I hope everyone might or might not use slides, it's not necessary, but he used slides correctly because the slides did things that he could not do. They gave visual pictures. And he did things the slides should not do, which was to deliver his words. And he delivered them without reading, he spoke his words. So those are all very, very strong points.
Thank you.
You're done, and,
Yeah.
really, to be honest, did not think that you could do it in that short time.
Right, yeah, I think it was Saturday evening.
morning, evening. But don't take that as an example. Do not take that as an example.
We were debating on what topic to talk about, and, yeah, I told him I was having issues with what I originally wanted to talk about. Can I bring it up, Tom, or?
Yeah, you can even
Can I
show
bring
a
up the
little
video? Okay, we have got a little time, good.
Yeah, there's a little entertainment coming up now. I'd really like to see that.
So, yeah, this is originally what I wanted to talk about, but as Dr. Jung and I were discussing there, we couldn't find maybe just enough ethical issues to talk about
I
regarding
couldn't
this.
find any,
Yeah,
but it's really.
zero, not enough. Alright, speedy internet here and computer. And I hope we have volume of some sorts. Or, no.
Well, just give me a little
Here.
warning. It's touchy, we've got to.
Is there an on button? Yeah.
Ray,
Wiggle everything.
okay, somebody do a mantra.
Okay. There's that. Everything's good on this end.
There's the sound, huh?
Yes.
I'm not getting power, maybe. So we're not getting power, it's obviously.
Correctly after that.
There
we go.
Well done, Paul.
You're being replaced.
Okay, let's try.
All right. Hopefully we're not blaringly loud for you right there.
朝ですよ。起きてください。ねえ、起きてってば。おはよう。
おはよ
あ、今日雨が降るかもしれないから傘持って行って。急がないと遅刻しちゃうよ。
う、行ってきます。
いってらっしゃい。気をつけてね。
Don't cry.
さ、家で誰かが待ってるっていいもんだな。さっき思ったんだ、帰ってくるとき。おやすみ。
おやすみなさい。
We're taking pre-orders. It's only $2,500.
My wife is so getting replaced. See how happy she was when he got home?
Yeah.
Ordering
It's
one
like-
right now. Ordering one right now. My so I gotta have them two.
Wow.
The future is so bright.
One for each
Sex
side, everybody
robots
gets to
are
work.
right around the corner.
They have those already, but we can try.
Right there. Can we- Now,
But they have.
our next course on this 5-course meal, it's dessert time. So can we open our chapter 2s on privacy? So my first question to the class is, which is the amendment to the Bill of Constitution, which is the number of the Bill of Rights that guarantees privacy? Amendment number what? 1 is free speech.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Which, US question, which amendment to the US Constitution guarantees privacy? And, Steve, Mike knows it.
Four.
And on page 79,
Oh,
David, could you read the Fourth Amendment to us? Page 79, the Fourth Amendment.
The Fourth Amendment,
The right of the people.
the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Every time we read one of these, I'm in awe of the forefathers, founders, their wisdom, their statesmanship, their ability to cover the ground and get it right. Something that has endured now for 200 plus years. And they said the right things and in the right way. And it's earth-shaking, their ability to do this. Now, let's read how it went down in England. So Sam, could you read the next quote? The poorest man is how it went down in England.
The poorest man made its cottage bid defiance to all the force of the crown. It may be frail, its roof may shake, the wind may blow through it, the storms may enter, the rain may enter, but the King of England cannot enter.
And those are strong words, and that's a real change from our typical form of government where basically it's not a rule of law, but a rule by law. You see the distinction between a rule of law and a rule by law. So one of the side questions that you might investigate is, which form does Singapore currently have? A rule of law or a rule by law? And is it necessarily bad? Now, the Fourth Amendment is interesting because we have some technological issues now. For example, a hard drive was seized during a drug raid into a house, warranted drug raid, allowed to do it, took a hard drive, and were they allowed to look at files that they were not looking for? Were they allowed to do an open search of the hard drive? Were they allowed to do that? Could they look where they did not have warrant to look on the hard drive? Paul?
I think,
No, not anything.
oh,
It's illegal it's already been ruled
Well,
upon, it's a
yeah.
legal ruling.
they have,
To read which way it did. What else did you have
They
to
have
do
probable
yesterday,
cause.
right?
yeah, they have probable cause to,
Steph, let's see.
So is it left in the open? If you have a warrant to a hard drive, you open the hard drive and you can see the files.
Can you read them?
Can you read them? No,
No.
you can't. So the argument was taken by the jury that they couldn't, because you had to do another physical action, click on the file to open it up. It was against.
I
That was not a,
admire his reading the text carefully and his remembering that.
yeah, my hat that you
Your
described
hat off to
earlier.
him, go ahead, take your hat off to him.
Oh, well, I don't wanna distract everybody.
Okay. Oh, so now as we get into new technologies, we get into new challenges, especially for the judicial branch. How do you interpret the rights of privacy for gadgets that our forefathers had no idea would ever exist. Because one of the things that they were really worried about was gossip. You said a man has a right to be protected from gossip and eavesdropping. You can't eavesdrop. You know, you're not allowed to eavesdrop on people. Well, that's now turned into surveillance, agreed? So now I want to, what about these security cameras on every red light? Pro and con. Well, the pro is security cameras on every red light intersection. What's the pro?
Catch the violation.
You can catch the violations. And what's the con? Well, one guy didn't get caught, he was just driving by, 6 a.m. on his way home in a neighborhood where he didn't live. So his wife says, "What are you doing there?" And, you know, so are there privacy violations with security cameras all over the place? Yeah, because they film indiscriminately, agreed? So are your privacy rights being violated by these omnipresent security cameras everywhere?
Yes, but
Well, it depends on what's done with them, agreed?
really great.
No, the police departments say, we're not doing anything with them at all. We don't use them for anything except the violations. So that's fine if you believe the police departments. The question is there, the danger is there, the risk to privacy is there, agreed? Okay, so let's try to proceed. Page 83, tracking cars and cell phones. Without reading the conclusion, let's see, Mike, a very dramatic good reader. Can you read the case to us, but stop short of the judicial findings? So let's read the case, tracking cars and cell phones. On 83.
I have a story after I read this.
I was afraid of that.
Tracking cars and cell
No,
phones.
a little less dramatic. Overdue.
You're at 11, dude.
We know you can do it, we know you can do it, yeah.
Tracking cars and cell phones. Law enforcement agents track thousands of people's locations each year. Sometimes they have a court order to do so, and sometimes they do not. Do they need one? We describe two key cases and as examples.
Should I pause for just a second?
Yes.
After you read it, I would like you guys to find a little bit of discussion. And I would like each of you to find one similar type of case in this chapter that's engendered by technology and bring it to the attention of your classmates. So I have to put you on autopilot now while I go Xerox the missing question pages. Please continue.
What missing page?
Never mind.
Questions 4, 3, 4, 9.
In 2012, the Supreme Court decided U.S. versus Jones, its first major case of digital technology surveillance. Does the Fourth Amendment prohibit police from secretly attaching a GPS tracking device to a person's vehicle without a search warrant? Police said no. They could have observed the suspect's car as it moved about on public streets. They argued the GPS device is a robot saving device. It's a robot.
Oh, labor.
Labor. Mine look like a T there.
Yeah.
The court disagreed. There are two arguments in favor of the Fourth Amendment protection in this case. First, a vehicle is one of a person's effects that the Fourth Amendment explicitly protects. Second, the tracking a person's location for a month, 24 hours a day, as in this case, goes beyond someone observing the car passing by in public. It violates a person's expectation of privacy. The court agreed unanimously with the first argument. Police need a search warrant to attach a surveillance device to a private vehicle. The justice recognized the expectation of privacy would be a key issue in tracking cases where directly attaching a device is not necessary. But the majority chose to leave a decision about that to future cases. police had one argument against expectation of privacy in U.S. versus Jones. The vehicle drove around in public view. Suppose a person is at home, at a friend's or lover's home, inside a church or a health facility, or in any private space. Law enforcement agencies use a device to locate a person by locating his or her cell phone, even when the person is not actively using the phone. Police do not need to enter private premises or physically attach anything to a person's property. Thus, expectation of privacy is a key issue here. Law enforcement agencies argue that cell phone tracking, which they have used more than 1,000 times according to a Wall Street Journal investigation, does not require a search warrant because the person who uses a cell phone service has no expectation of privacy about the location data the phone transmits to cell towers. This view might surprise most cell phone owners. The Supreme Court has not yet heard a case about this technology. What are we supposed to do?
We can discuss it, and then someone else, they'll find something else to read and discuss that.
Before we do that, I saw on the Today Show that your iPhone tracks your frequent locations. You can tell you what time you were there and how many times you were there. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
And
Yeah,
Google,
and the Android actually, you can look it up on the computer and find where you've been and how often you've been there and what times you were there.
And-
Google,
and-
Android, but the
And what
iPhone.
routes you've taken.
Yeah, and the
To get there.
iPhone only
Yeah,
shows
cool stuff.
frequent locations, time, date,
yeah,
everything.
if you have it,
Anybody can know that? I mean.
On the iPhone, it's just on the iPhone, but on the Android phone sends it to Google and anybody can see it on.
yeah, if you have it on your iPhone, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes if I go to the Google website, it says, you're 5 minutes from home. Like, it knows, because I'm there
Frequent
during the
location.
night times when
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
sleeping,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you're 10 minutes from work. It's like there during the
I
day.
turn mine off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's definitely part of it. You're right. Your iPhone does know. And so, who else knows?
Yeah.
Everybody at Apple, the company Apple has access to that data. Everybody at Google has access to that. Everyone. Some people, some hackers might have access to that data, and it's definitely a security risk to privacy. And then on top of that, do the police have access to that data? And what right do they have to access that data? Right? So the case study, like you were saying, is that you, because you bought a cell phone, and you know that this cell phone sends information, sends its location to the cell towers, that you have already given up your right to say they shouldn't know where I am. That's the point here. You have already given away your right just by using that technology. You have agreed to, this is how a cell phone works. It doesn't work any other way. It has to contact the cell towers. So you should already know as a user, thereby, right to privacy is awesome. But if a technology needs to circumvent that right to privacy in order to operate, and you decide to use that technology, then you really have kind of given up your right to that.
Consent, you opt in.
Yeah, you've opted
You
in.
opt in.
Yeah, unless anybody else has anything else to say about that, I wanna hear your story, chief. So, yeah. You said you had a story.
Oh, I told it, but I just saw on the Today Show.
Oh,
that-
okay, that was your story,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you had a personal
No,
story.
no. I saw it on the Today Show 2 days ago.
Hmm.
I don't know, it's
Yeah.
conflicting for me.
Yeah,
It
being
would
the
be,
police,
it
I
would
guess
be,
you are.
yeah.
Well, I mean, well, it's not just that, but I look at it two
Yeah.
different ways. So one hand, let's say, what do you shoot for? You don't want people to track you based
Yeah, I was
off
gonna
of
tell you, you
self-referential
forgot these
location,
pages today.
right? But on the other hand, if you were missing or
Sam
lost
beat me to it.
because of dementia, your family would want you to be able to do that to track down your location.
Right.
So which is it? I either use it to track you, or I don't use it to track you regardless of the outcome. You can't have it both ways. It's gotta be one or the other. Because you're saying, well, you're using that against criminal. Well, what criminal aspect of it, if the self-taught, if I'm just looking at the general, because it doesn't give you precise location, it gives you a general area. If I use the cell phone tower to track your location within a 10-mile radius, or a 5-mile radius, however it expands, to see if you are, through the investigation I suspect you will, or in the commission of that offense or not. Versus, now your family's asking me because you're crazy and lost, and you need help to do it. But you don't want me to do it this way, but you want me to do it if I'm there to help you, to save you from yourself. So the expected privacy of privacy is the same regardless. So you have to, the society as a whole needs to make a choice on what they want. Because you're asking the cops to not do this, but then you're asking them to violate that same law to find you to help you. Same with a 911 call. A lot of people, when you dial 911, we can trace your exact location down almost to the pinpoint, depending on if you have the system of where you're at to get you the help. But now, based off what everything they're saying is that, am I violating your expectations of privacy now? Because you may not be able to give me consent to track you if you need help on that 911. You may have been just able to dial 911. So by you dialing 911, are you giving up your right to privacy?
Couldn't these be resolved by conscientious policemen?
And we make those decisions all the time, you do, but is it legal or not? You know what I'm saying, that's the thing. So what if he didn't want to be found, because like he said earlier, he has the right to shoot himself.
But if we're all conscientious and honorable, do we need laws?
Well, if that was the case, I wouldn't need a job. Oh, I wouldn't have this job,
Personal problem.
you know? So,
But still, so we are a mixture of laws and conscientious behavior. And in Japan, the police are even more that way. For example, the policeman is an uncle to the criminal. The criminal does something wrong in a Japanese neighborhood, the policeman walks him down the street with his arm around the shoulder and counsels him, and doesn't necessarily throw him into jail. True? It's sort of a big brother, guider, and much different role. Of course, the criminal is usually a lot less violent and less armed.
well, I think the United States does the same thing under what's called community policing practice.
Yes.
So, but the biggest thing is, for the military, I mean, we had a conflict over in the squadron, but one individual believed we could only use community policing when it came to traffic infractions. I'll put my stance. I was taught that defining the greater good of what I'm trying to do at that time is when I will implement community type policing. So if Dave here has committed a crime, well, my true guy I want to get information on is Mike over here. I may overlook.
We're gonna use this as crime.
Go along with it.
I may overlook a small fracture or criminal act that he made to get the information from him so that I can get the true criminal off the street.
Yeah.
Depending on what the situation was now been. So let's take like public urination. It's a crime. You can't pee in public. You have to use a restroom. It's called public indecency. But if I'm looking for Mike because he decided to smoke cocaine and shoot 2 people up and he knows where he's at, but if I arrest him for that, I'm not gonna get that information.
Yeah, we can handle that ethically with you doing the greater good at the least harm.
Right.
So this is why ethical principles override laws. And laws are our best attempt to uniform ethical principles, but they're only an attempt. And you're only putting your finger on it again. You are never alleviated of your responsibility to make the personal ethical call, which you do 24 hours a day. And laws cannot replace that. And it's no argument to your own conscience to say, I just followed the law, if you feel you did something wrong. It's between you and yourself. So I think that we can't just blindly and faithfully say that the law is totally right and just and blindly follow it. No, and you always filter through what you think should be done. And I don't think that there is a government, a democratic government anyway, that talks against that. That little amount of massage that you give to your own ethics. Yeah, in the police department especially, you have strict hardliners, agreed?
You do.
You have strict hardliners, black and white, that's it. It's the law, it's right, and I'm going to enforce it. And I would say the rest of the policemen try not to work with that guy.
And I mean, in the military, same way to the point with security. Like out there dealing with the jets, there is no compromise. That's the rule, that's what we do. But I'm charged different with what I'm supposed to do out there.
There's no rule, well, yeah, there are. I mean, suppose a little kid runs in front of a plane, what are you going to do? Let the plane crash him or
No, I'm
endanger the
talking about
plane?
that.
Okay, yeah.
But I may not, apprehend or arrest the kid, but I'm definitely gonna arrest the parent for bringing this kid out here.
Yeah, but are you gonna save the kid and endanger
Right.
the plane?
It depends.
Yeah.
And then the only time that I can't, where ethics has been taken out is nuclear weapons. In the event of someone trying to capture, destroy, or steal, however you wanna look at a nuclear weapon, I am required to shoot, to kill if I need to protect that. And if that means I kill a bunch of innocent people that just happen to be there, then I have to kill a bunch of innocent people to get to that guy to stop it. There is no.
If there is a guy, but suppose it's just a bunch of silly 13-year-old teenagers who've been playing someplace they shouldn't be.
If there's plenty, but see, it goes back to damage or capture or misuse that thing. So you have to be able to make that judgment. But if, we'll use Sir John here
Why not?
this time, if he was over there trying to use those kids as a shield,
Oh, yeah,
Get to
right,
that
but
nuke.
if you can't determine that, are you gonna wipe the kids?
Yeah,
no, but you have to go off the information you have.
Yeah.
even then, if you can't, don't get me wrong, you don't shoot first.
No.
You say stop, and if they don't stop, that's when he is required, you know what I'm saying?
Not with nukes.
No.
I'm not required to say stop. I'm required to act first.
Really? Wow.
That is the only time.
I think you're telling us there's nukes on this base.
There's no nukes in this case.
Okay.
There's no nukes in Japan. Not that the government meant to. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, we'll go over these questions next class. And Seb, you want to talk about your top topic, or did you email me or something?
I can email you something. We talked about it last
So you
Wednesday.
have a green light, you
And
go.
you
Okay.
greenlight, I thought
Yeah.
you greenlighted me.
I'm sure I did.
I will shoot you an outline though if
And
you
I don't
want.
want you to think I forgot, no. I forgot.
Did you want the test back?
Maybe. Sorry, Jess, I just didn't remember.
No worries, sir.
Yeah, the green, I got the yellow.
Dementia is a word, dementia is a word. Okay, can we rebuild the room? Energetic muscular complications.
Dementia, I suffer from dysliteracy.
Dysliteracy?
Yes.
Not illiteracy.
It is so, I just,
Josh.
This table comes
word I
from
just
here.
made up right now.
Sir, ma'am?
Done with
This
this
table
bottle?
comes from
Just a
here.
second, let me turn this off.
Anybody else getting trash?
Oh, thanks.